Good morning. Good morning. What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Good morning on this Tuesday, November 25th, a couple days before Thanksgiving. Thank you for continuing to come here every morning. Appreciate you guys joining the channel. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Appreciate you guys supporting the channel. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys being here. All right. I think I got my schedule figured out for the next couple of days. I think I made a executive decision. I talked to the board of governors. Everything went through the public relations department and through through PR. I think I figured out what my schedule is going to be the rest of the week. Thank you for being here, everybody. All right, we got a packed show today. Plus, we got a guest. Stop wasting time. Get to the show. That happens, by the way. Sometimes I look back, I listen to the show, and I'm like, Slee, it takes you 14 minutes to start the show. Start the damn show. All right, let me give everyone a quick idea of what we got going on for the show today. Thank you very much for being here. I don't think we're going to have any technical difficulties today. Oh, if you knew what happened yesterday when the show ended. I went to work. I had to make sure that shit wasn't happening again. Let me give everyone a quick rundown what we got for the show, and then I'll take a look at some of the comments here, and we'll keep things rolling. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. Help us close in on 34,000 subscribers if you guys don't mind. Just hit that subscribe button. Lakers got the Clippers tonight, so we're back in action. Things are going to start getting a little busy again, too, which I like. I don't like going this whole, I think conceptually where I'm like, hey, we're going to go one full week without Lakers basketball or 5 days or whatever it was. I like the concept of that. I'm like, I get some evenings off. No, I need Lakers to play. Lakers, Clippers tonight, two teams going in completely different directions. Looking forward to talk a little bit about this game and talk a little bit about both of these franchises and, like I said, the direction that they're going in. So I'm looking forward to doing that. DeAndre Ayton is out tonight. So no Ayton tonight. A little concerning. I'm being honest with everybody. No Ayton tonight. You guys remember Drew Timme from Gonzaga? All right, he's a Los Angeles Laker now. So something to keep in mind in regards to that. I'm not going to spend too much time on him, but I know Christian Koloko got waived, and Drew Timme is now part of the Los Angeles Lakers, so something to keep in mind there. Adam Auslund, who I've known here for a little bit. When I used to do Lakers pre and post, anytime it was a Lakers-Clippers game, I'd run into him. So him and I have been in touch in the past. Adam Auslund's going to come on the show in about, let's call it 10 minutes or so. So he does Clippers radio. I got to be honest with you. I'm going to be like an investigative journalist reporter here. I got to figure out what's going on with the Clippers. I mean, to me, it's kind of a little bit of a fascinating story because I thought they'd definitely be competitive this year. We know they're sitting at 5-13. There was an article out there about how much of each one of the Buss family members are going to be getting as part of this $10 billion valuation sale. Guys, I got some breaking news. The Buss family, they're going to be okay. They're going to make it. They will be able to pay their mortgage, their upcoming mortgage here pretty soon. They'll still keep 15% of the Lakers, a minority ownership. I got a question I'm going to ask everybody about the NBA Cup. I got a question I got to ask everybody about the 2-minute report that comes out. Apparently, a 2-minute report came out. The Lakers, I guess, cheated with the referees and should have lost the game against the Utah Jazz. One of the most pointless things I've ever seen in sports is these 2-minute reports. I still don't understand what the purpose of them is. Got some NBA news, some really, really surprising teams making some noise in the Eastern Conference, and then we're going to get the hell out of here. So thank you for being a part of the show. Let's take a look at the comments here real quick before we get things started, and then we will go from there. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see what I got here. Adam, a Clippers guy. Hey, you know what's crazy? Lakers got the Clippers tonight. What a crazy idea to bring a Clippers guy on. This Sliwa guy. All right, let's get a couple quotes in here. The goal is to die with memories, not dreams. Badass. Very, very good there. Slee, is there a show on Thanksgiving? Number one, first off, that is none of your business. And that's a personal question. And frankly, I should block you from this channel. All right, here's my plan real quick. So I think I figured it out. Here's what I'm going to do. I was contemplating yesterday. I'm going to do a show, obviously, today. I'm going to do a show tomorrow. Then my plan is Thursday and Friday, no shows in the morning. Friday night, Lakers have a game. They play Dallas. I'll do the post-game show. Next week, back to kind of the regular schedule. So that's what I'm planning so far. So my plan is Thursday and Friday, we all take a quick little breather. And then Friday night, we come back and do our regular show. So that's the plan for now. Get a couple more in here, and then we'll get out of here. Not get out of here, but we'll get to the show. All right, some people are looking forward to having Adam on. I am as well. Very knowledgeable. Let's see what we got here. You should cuss more, Sliwa. I'm working on it. It's a great observation, But sometimes it feels good. Got to be honest with everybody. There are times when I'm doing the show where, I don't got to drop F-bombs, but every once in a while, just get a good little, that's bullshit in there. Feels good. Try it here for a quick second if you're sitting at home. Or maybe you're in your car. So every once in a while, you just got throwing, that's bullshit. It feels good when it comes out. For some reason, it feels a little better in the morning, too. Just kind of solidify that. All right, let's get the show started. Thank you for hanging out. Lakers Clippers tonight. Talk about two teams heading in different directions. Yesterday, I was doing a little bit of notes, doing a little prep for the show, and I was trying to go back. I'm like, where were the Clippers before the season started? Everybody puts out those power rankings. All right, this is where this squad is. This is where that squad is. Lakers are top 10. I don't know. Where were the Pistons before? Actually, I'll look at a couple of teams here that we didn't know. We knew OKC was going to be coming into the season, the number one ranked team. I'm talking about before the regular season started. Where were the Clippers? I'll tell you. I went back and took a look, and this is coming off of NBA.com. So kind of my purpose and my goal in doing this was just to have an idea where everybody was before the season started. And there's going to be a lot of teams here that are a surprise or a shock. Let's actually, I think it'd be better if we look at this together. You guys know sometimes I like sharing my screen, the whole kumbaya thing, the whole thing. I want to do the whole thing together. Before the season started, the Oklahoma City Thunder, no surprise, no shock, no breaking news here. They were the number one team coming into the season. All right, let's keep rolling here. Who was number 2? Denver. No surprise. Cavs number 3. I don't think a surprise coming in. Knicks number 4. So far, everything's kind of been chalk here. Minnesota, maybe a little bit high for Minnesota, be number 5. I wouldn't have put them at number 5, but all right, do as you see fit. They made it to the Western Conference 2 years in a row, so they got them at number 5. Where were the Clippers coming into the 2025-2026 season? Here's where the Clippers were. They had them at number 6 in the NBA. So of all the teams in the Western Conference, look at the start of how they describe them. The Clippers are the oldest team in the league, but also one of the deepest. One of the oldest teams in the leagues. Okay, some of the moves they made. They traded Norman Powell. You guys remember that, right? They brought in Bradley Beal. You guys remember that. They brought in John Collins. I forgot, to be honest with you, that Chris Paul was on the team. Brook Lopez is also on the team. These are just some of the moves that they made. They had the Clippers, of all the teams in the NBA, they had the Clippers at number 6. Where are the Clippers right now? You go look at the Western Conference standings. What are they? 5-12, 5-13? I was just looking at it. But they're 2-8 in their last 10 games. Have they had injuries? Sure. Everybody has. And wait a minute. I thought we were all talking about how much depth that the Clippers have. They're 5-12 on the season. Frankly, I don't want to hear one excuse for the Clippers. I really, really don't. And that doesn't mean the Clippers can't turn it around. That doesn't mean the Clippers can't hand it to the Lakers tonight without DeAndre. And, Vita Zubac will take advantage of that. Timing-wise, not good for the Lakers not to have DeAndre Ayton simply because of what I'm referring to here. There's a really good big man on the other side. Clippers were a top 6 team coming into the season, and look what the Clippers are doing. Here's the problem with the Clippers. And Adam will be able to break this down better for us. And I'm not going to pretend like, I'm watching every Clippers game, because I'm not. By the way, if you want to know where the Lakers were, they had Houston at 7. They had the Warriors at 8. They had Magic at 9. Lakers were top 10 coming into the season. to be completely honest with you, I don't even have a problem with the Lakers just being in the top 10, just because I think there were a lot of question marks for the Lakers. All right, what's Ayton going to look like? What's Marcus Smart going to look like? How's this team going to jive? LeBron's not starting the season. I had honestly no problem with that. It doesn't even matter to me. And the conversation really has never been about where were the Lakers in this whole, coming into the season? Where were they in power rankings? The question was, well, where are the Clippers? Clippers were top 6. Here's a couple things that are right as we get started. And, I got to be honest, I'm kind of looking forward to tonight's matchup. They're taking on the Clippers. Clippers they definitely have some storylines around them. Not the most positive stories, but they have some storylines around them. Before the season even started, the conversation around the Clippers had nothing to do with basketball. And the question was, is your owner trying to circumnavigate the salary cap? Is he trying to pull a fast one on the entire league? All right. Well, that's a good way to start the season. Is Kawhi taking money basically under the table that he isn't supposed to be taking? And are deals being done where, all right, we can't pay him X amount of dollars, but let's pay him through this Fugazi company and see what happens from it. Before the season even started, that's the story around the Clippers. And then obviously the season gets started. They're sitting at 5-12, and we'll find out more about why they're off to a 5-12 start. But the Clippers have a stigma to them. This is the truth. This is not me just, hey, this guy does a Lakers podcast. He's trying to find time to take shots at the Clippers. No, the Clippers have created this storyline this season to the Clippers. And frankly, this is the history of the Clippers organization. They look like a mess. And this is with Steve Ballmer. This is with Kawhi Leonard and James Harden, and go down the list. Oh, look at all the veterans that they have, and they're this and they're that. Tell me the direction both of these franchises are going in right now. The Lakers look like, if you're looking at a stock, who, by the way, I think just got bought out by, ownership that has already proven they have a track record. I know it's two different sports, but I think most people would say, I think the Lakers are probably in pretty good hands. The Lakers are a stock going in one direction. They traded for Luka Doncic last year. You could bitch and complain and say, well, how the hell did the Lakers get Luka? I don't know. How did they get Kareem? How did they get Magic? How did they get Kobe? How did they get Shaq? How did they get Pau Gasol? I don't have an answer for you. I don't. How did they get Anthony Davis? Why did LeBron decide to? I don't have an answer. They just find ways to get superstars. And Luka Doncic is just one superstar of a long list of superstars that eventually become Lakers. Look at the direction that the Lakers are heading in. And unfortunately for the Clippers, and I think you could say this about both franchises, one franchise has a history of figuring things out, getting the right superstar, and competing for an NBA championship. And I'm a little bit surprised here to be sitting here on Tuesday, November 25th, talking about the Clippers and their 5-12 start. The question marks about ownership, and if, like I said, we'll let that investigation kind of work itself out. But it's obviously not a good look for the Clippers. I think this franchise, I think the Clippers, there have been some times over these last, look back at the Chris Paul days, the Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, where you feel like not only are they turning a corner, they might actually be the better franchise and potentially the better run franchise in LA. This is what I'm talking about. You could say even before LeBron ended up coming over, we know the streak that the Lakers were having of not making the postseason. What was it? 6 years in a row. There was a window. There was an opportunity there for the Clippers. And then here, as the dust settles and we're closing in on Thanksgiving, it's like, it's just the truth. You're saying to yourself, it's the same old Clippers, and you're saying it's the same old Lakers. There's a little bit of that. Now, again, I'm not watching every single Clippers game, so there's a reason why I try to get guests from the other side that will do a much better job breaking it down than me. But that's my observation from the outside looking in, and something to keep in mind. All right, speaking of our guest, very excited to bring him on here. Known him now for a number of years. Does the Clippers radio. Adam Auslund joining the show. Adam, what's up, brother? Good morning.
Alan, thanks for having me. Great show so far. I hope I can add something to it.
No. I appreciate you coming on. I came a little hot out the gate here on the Clippers. Listen, I'm not gonna lie here. I'm surprised. I will say this, and you'll have a much better breakdown than I will on the Clippers. But as an outsider kind of watching from the outside, um, there's a little bit of like the same old Clippers. How are they? This is supposed to be a team that should be competing this year. I was pulling it up. Not that this is, but NBA.com does their power rankings before the season starts. There they are, number 6. I think a lot of people saying, hey, keep an eye out for the Clippers. They're probably a top 4 team in the Western Conference. Can you tell me, as we sit here today and seeing what the Clippers record is, and then we'll start previewing the game for tonight, how much of this is just the construction of the team? How much of this is injuries? How much of this, like, give me just your best scope of how they're sitting at 5-12.
I mean, I think it's all of the above, but it goes back to this offseason. We did feel like they had a fruitful offseason. They got Brook Lopez. They hadn't had a backup that was really of quality since Isaiah Hartenstein back in the 21-22 season for Ivica Zubac. And Brook Lopez was playing over 30 minutes a night last season in Milwaukee. He was still very effective out there. We knew the age concerns, but that's a big reason why things haven't clicked in like we thought. It just seems like some guys are getting a little bit older overnight. Like you can see that happening. CP3, everybody loved the move for him. We knew the age concerns, but he was starting last year with the San Antonio Spurs, and he looked great out there. We thought that would be a perfect backup for James Harden. Obviously, their familiarity playing next to each other in Houston. And then Bradley Beal for $5 million. That looked like a great
Sure.
pickup where everybody was saying, hey, it's the Bradley Beal sweepstakes going on right now. And then the one that Clippers fans were probably most excited about because they were they were after this guy for years. Clipper Nation has been talking about John Collins and them
Mm.
needing a more athletic power forward so Kawhi can go back to the 3. But of course, that means that power forward also has to shoot 3-pointers. Well, he has been the last 2 seasons, but John Collins is off to an extremely slow start. And you gave up Norman Powell to get him. The idea was you're getting him and Bradley Beal to supplement Norman Powell. Well, Norm has been going off so far for the Miami Heat. I know he's banged up now. Bradley Beal is now out for the season, and John Collins has underperformed, and he's actually been worse since getting into the starting lineup. It just hasn't clicked in for him. I had heard some stuff where coaches were saying he wasn't quite up to speed. People were complaining about him coming off the bench and not playing 30 minutes a night at first. And then once he got into the starting lineup, things actually got worse. So I
Mm.
think there's a moving target. It's whack-a-mole with all the problems going on with this Clippers team. You start off slow, which is not out of the ordinary for them. So people were like, okay, they're 3-3 so far, but they're going to get it together. They haven't started fast since 2020. This is just what they do. They ease their way into a season. But then you end up losing Kawhi, and then you end up losing Bradley Beal for the entire season, and then Derrick Jones Jr. is out for 6 weeks. And so now you've had 7 or 8 different starting lineups within the first 15 games, now 17, and you're wondering how are they going to be able to fix this in time to still be a top 4 seed in the Western Conference like many projected.
So I think, I'm trying to figure out what the best way to describe this, but it's almost as if on paper, and you tell me how much of this is look, sometimes things just don't fit. They might look good on paper, and if you told me, hey, this is you put all these ingredients together and you cook it right, and you take your time, and it's going to be an unbelievable dish. Well, you put me behind the mix and it's not going to work, and you put somebody else who knows what they're doing, it might taste perfect. How much of this is just sometimes it doesn't fit. Sometimes the players don't fit. Sometimes maybe the chemistry is not there. I don't know. And I think I'm asking you, and I know nobody really has the answer to this. Are we going to be sitting here by the time January 1st comes around and say, hey, Clippers are starting to roll. They put some stuff together. They got maybe a little bit lucky that there's so many teams in the Western Conference that are also struggling. I know you got your top 6 or 7 or whatever the case is, but to get in the play-in, at least right now, it seems like there's a lot of teams that got a shot at getting the play-in. How much do you think this changes, or how much do you think we'll be sitting here by January 1st and the question's going to be about the Clippers, more about you start selling off some of these assets?
I think a lot of it's obviously going to depend over the next month and how much can Kawhi contribute during that time, who's just coming back, played his first game against Cleveland on Sunday, looked good, but was on a minutes restriction, and there were other issues going on in that game. People are still holding on to the fact that the last couple of years, the end of last season, Kawhi comes back. They go on an 18-3 run to close out the regular season. The season before that, the Clippers had a 26-5 run. And that was the difference in them turning things around. Where they win on these runs, do they have another one in them? Or is this the end of this era with Kawhi Leonard in terms of talking about them as one of the upper echelon teams in the Western Conference? You mentioned the chemistry and fit and cooking that meal, and maybe it's just not coming out right. I've joked that instead of the sum of its parts is greater, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It's like the whole is lesser than the sum of its parts with this team right now. It's like guys are dragging each other down. They're not elevating each other, but they also haven't had consistency with the starting lineup, as I mentioned. They haven't been able to build up much continuity because of injuries out there. And quite frankly, too many of the guys they brought in have underperformed and haven't been at the level we expected so far. So can Kawhi cure a lot of that? Sure, but they're 25th defensively right now. They were the third best defensive team in the league last season. I mean, that is a stark contrast from what we saw last year where their identity was on the defensive end because they didn't get Kawhi back till middle of January. And they were still playing well enough because their defense was their floor and that kept them in games every night. While James Harden was there running their offense, the defense has fallen off a cliff. And that's something that has to be fixed first of all. So there's a lot of issues as you would expect from a team that's 5-12. There's no easy answers. But if this thing gets to, let's say they're 8-20, do we talk about a sell-off? Now, the Clippers don't have their first-round pick. It goes to OKC this next year. So the idea was always that, well, what's the point of tanking for a team that doesn't have their first-round pick? At some point, you just have to focus on yourself, though, and start playing the young guys and hope one of them pops for a future season here with this Clippers team, like we've seen with Kobe Sanders as of late, who has been one of the few bright spots.
Yeah, I'm not just based off of what we've seen and based on where the West is going and based on other teams that are a lot younger and the projection of where some of these other teams in the Western Conference will be over the next couple of years. I got a difficult time thinking that the best strategy for the Clippers is to hold on to what they have. But like you said, it's still November 25th. You don't have to make decisions today or tomorrow. So they got this. I feel like every team, every time I hear the Dallas Mavericks, they got this pick is going to the Thunder. Every time I feel like every time I hear a team saying anything about a pick going somewhere, they're all going to the Thunder. And that's the last team that needs anything else.
It might be the last dynasty because of all the picks they got, because the NBA doesn't want dynasties, but the Thunder, they may buck that trend.
They might buck that. You're 100% true or 100% right on that. Okay, I know you're obviously you're a Clippers fan, and you and listen, as you should be. Like if that's your squad, that's your squad. I love that, and you shouldn't change any of that stuff. I want you to give me your perspective real quick on the other side. So here's a franchise that they're fine. They got plenty of championships. They've, have had tremendous amount of success over the years. And then Dallas decides, let's trade one of the best players. Just your eyes rolling right there, I think says it all. And this is where I'm trying to get to. Dallas decides, let's have one of the most idiotic trades in the history of the NBA. And let's have that player not go to the Suns, not go to the Kings, not go to let's just put him at the Lakers or put him with the Lakers. The Buss family decides, let's sell a majority stake in the team. Let's not sell it to any ownership. Let's sell it to an ownership group that, listen, I don't know if there's no guarantee that what they've done in baseball is going to translate to what they could potentially do in the NBA. But I think it's safe to say probably a lot of owners out there in the NBA like, shit, now, okay, these guys they're going to be driving the wheel to the Los Angeles Lakers franchise and the brand and everything else. Just what when you sit back, are you saying to yourself, how does it keep happening? How does this franchise just keep figuring out ways to not just be competitive, but have stars?
I mean, I sum it up in this way. It's Lakers luck. Lakers always land on their feet. You mentioned earlier the stretch of seasons, 6 or 7, where they didn't make
6.
the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, what did that end up getting them? LeBron James, maybe the best player ever out of that. So they get that to happen. And then it looks like they're spiraling again, and another life preserver comes their way in the form of Luka Doncic. And the only reason it happens is because the one guy in the world that would trade him was the GM of the Dallas Mavericks and had a relationship with Rob Pelinka. That's the only way something like that happens. I don't believe in the conspiracy stuff. This was somebody that valued Anthony Davis more so than Luka Doncic because of relationships going back to Nike and knowing how Kobe practiced and knowing how he performed behind the scenes and thinking there's only one way to win. And Luka Doncic isn't going to be able to get there, even though they were just in the finals a year and a half ago. It is shocking, but it's par for the course of the Los Angeles Lakers. I've seen this so many times before. And yeah, it's frustrating. It just feels like they always get the breaks, even in the game the other night. Was that a foul by Marcus Smart on Keontae George? It looked like he had his arm locked in his. You look at the plus minus differential of free throws over the last 3 seasons. What is it? Plus 1,500 going the Lakers' way? We've never seen anything like that from season to season with one team always getting so many free throws. I hear Lakers fans, well, we attack the basket so much. I looked at the numbers from last season. They were near bottom 5 in drives per game. So I don't know. I grew up in Sacramento, Alan. So I've been dealing with this. This goes back to the early 2000s. The Kings were my team growing up. And I still have bitterness and acrimony towards the Lakers for Game 6 in 2002 when they got 27 free throws in the fourth quarter of that must-win playoff game back at Staples Center. So for me, it was only natural to align with the Clippers down here because I could never be a Lakers fan with where I grew up.
You got deep ties, deep roots there. And listen, look, I respect it. I respect the fact that you have, you've dug your feet in and said, cool, I'm going to go ahead and anytime that I could point out the free throw discrepancy and everything, I'm going to find it. And if I even have to go back to a Lakers Jazz game on November 23rd on a Sunday night and point out that Marcus Smart had a foul late in the game, then I'm going to point it out. Can I ask you this question here real quick? What's your, I have it here in, some of my notes here that I'll do on the show a little bit later. What's your thoughts on what the 2-minute report? And I think what you're referring to, I guess the Lakers had committed, there were 2 different times towards the final. I think he was in minute of the game against the Utah Jazz where the referees come out, 2-minute report. Hey, we screwed up on this. Are you a fan of that? I'm still trying to figure out what's the point of the 2-minute report. Do you have just a thought on that?
I think the point is a public shaming, and it's better than not having it. While nothing changes with the final result.
Yeah.
And we saw this with the Clippers game against Philadelphia, I think it was, where James Harden was fouled on a 3-pointer that he took, wasn't called at the very end of the game where they were down by 2. The next day, 2-minute report says it should have been a foul, doesn't do anything for you, that Quentin Grimes hit his elbow and that he also impeded his landing space. It doesn't do anything for you outside of there's an accountability to the officials at least, and they are judged by these things, and that comes down to their grading on whether or not they are officiating playoff games at the end of the season. I'd rather have it than not, but I understand. It feels like, hey, thanks for telling us you got the call wrong that could have changed the game in our favor, and there's nothing else that can be done. It's still frustrating.
Yeah, you just pick up the phone, maybe have a conversation with the ref and just say, hey, you screwed up these last couple of calls. Maybe just don't do that again. I don't know if I need to know about it. I don't know if I need a 2-minute report telling me that nothing's going to change. We just want you to know that we screwed up. And by the way, we'll probably do it again in the next game. And there'll be just plenty of 2-minute reports out there. But that's my own mix there. Let me lean a little bit more towards, tonight's game. And I would like your perspective a little bit on what you've seen from the Lakers so far. But tonight's game, I think the clear the storyline for me is Ayton has been a nice piece for the Lakers. And I'm not telling you he's Hakeem Olajuwon, but they don't need Hakeem Olajuwon. They just need a serviceable center that can give them. Can you give them a 16-8, 16-10 a game? Can you get a couple free looks because there's so much attention on LeBron and Luka. And to be honest with you, Ayton's he's not a bad basketball player. I think, the situation is a lot better for him than some of these other previous spots. And he's in a little bit of a desperation mode if he wants to continue his NBA career and try to get another paycheck. As we go into this game tonight, how much, and you could tell me this maybe more from a Biggs perspective, a Zubac's perspective, how much do you think the Clippers take advantage of Ayton not being there?
I think it's the key to the ball game because DeAndre Ayton, I agree with you. I've seen enough of him in a playoff series against the Clippers in 2021 where he's actually given Ivica Zubac some problems. He seems to get up for those games as much as people were complaining before and saying he's a malcontent or he's not meeting his potential. This is a make or break season for him in a lot of different ways with the Lakers. He has played well so far, but besides that, he's been good against Ivica Zubac in the past. So missing him, and I'm assuming they're going to have Jackson Hayes out there starting. That's a big loss. Now, the other part of this is there's a huge history. When the Clippers fans saw Luka Doncic going to the Lakers, they had already played him 3 times in the playoffs. Nobody else had played and seen Luka Doncic as much as the Clippers had. And the one thing you'll see is when they come up to hedge or up to touch, as they call it, on these screens to try to trap the ball with Luka Doncic, he often gets the switch and has Ivica Zubac isolated on him. And even when Ivica Zubac plays it perfectly and has a hand in the face of Luka Doncic, he has this irrational confidence that he's going to get these crazy shots to go over Big Zoo because it goes back to 2020 in the bubble against him in the playoffs, 2021, and then 2024 in the first round. He's played him 3 different times, and he's got familiarity there. And Zoo plays him well, but it just doesn't matter. And the other problem is it takes him away from the basket. It pulls him away. You're going to see that a lot with the Lakers tonight, trying to get a Big Zoo outside on the perimeter. But the Clippers have to keep him on the floor and not go small and resist that urge because they have an advantage with him on the other end offensively. And, I'm doing research on this Lakers team. And speaking of Lakers luck and everything always goes their way, Allen.
Let's hear it. Come on. Give it to me.
They're 12-4
yeah,
and they're 15th in net rating. Do you know what an outlier that is to be 15th in net rating and have a top 5 record in the league? It's unbelievable.
Have you seen how bad they are from their 3-point shooting?
So I looked that up and they're at 33.1% or whatever. And I'm wondering, how are they this good? Well, they're first in field goal percentage in the mid-range. They're first in field goal percentage in the paint, and they're first in field goal percentage in the restricted area. So you could say, well, the 3-point stuff, it is going to progress to the mean. That stuff should fall off too. So it might meet somewhere in the middle. But still, the big reason I think that they're 12-4 while being 15th in net rating, being average offensively, average defensively, they're 6-0 in crunch time games, in clutch time. In the last 5 minutes of a game within 5 points, they're 6-0. They're the best in the league. So they've had some good fortune, but also they've stepped up in big moments. But I just couldn't believe I'm seeing that. I'm like, so wait a second.
No, that doesn't match.
Top 5. They're not top 5 offensively. They're not top 5 defensively. How are they 12-4? Nobody else has that good of a record with that poor of a net rating.
But you know what's funny? You say that. Actually, I think that does explain some of it. The clutch moments that you're talking about. You got players that can close out games, and you got guys that are very, very comfortable in that situation. And I'm not, I know. Let me give you an example. Lakers had a game against Minnesota. This was maybe a couple weeks ago, and led the whole game. Pretty comfortable lead. Minnesota storms all the way back. Minnesota takes a lead with 7-8 seconds left, and Austin Reeves just ISO ball, gets to the paint, hits the shot at the buzzer, and they win. Luka, I don't need to tell you, you kind of mentioned his just ridiculous confidence, and that just grows and grows. And it's not just against the Clippers. Oh, yeah. It might feel like it's just against the Clippers, but obviously he's done this against many other teams. But I think it's a good observation because they've just had a lot of things also go their way, right? Like, I think this is where I'll give the Lakers credit. You mentioned this when you're talking about the Clippers lineup. and you're talking about how many different players and starting lineups and this and that. Go back to last year where JJ Redick had to juggle 24 different starting lineups. And some of that had to do with injuries. Some of that had to do with the trade. Some of that had to do, a lot of different things played a factor. This year, when the season started, this is the first time they've had pretty much everybody available, and now Ayton's out. But they've also kind of dealt with this. Well, LeBron just got back. Luka missed a couple of games. Reeves. I guess the one area I'd give Lakers credit, there is a little bit of a, well, who gives a shit who's playing? Just figure it out. And they've been able to do that. Now, I don't know how sustainable that's going to be over an 82-game stretch, but I think they've at least showed through these. Maybe they're not 12-4 through the first 16 games and then the next 16 games and moving forward. But I think they have shown they're probably a solid top five team in the Western Conference. And, obviously we'll see where things roll from there.
No, I agree. JJ Redick, I was a huge fan of his, not because he was necessarily a Clipper, but just his basketball mind and listening to his podcast. And while a lot of people are saying, oh, he doesn't have coaching experience, and they're trying to call him Pat Riley, and that's ridiculous. It's like, first of all, I don't know if Pat Riley would be Pat Riley in today's modern NBA. It's just different. It's more competitive than ever. You've seen 7 different champions the last 7 years. But JJ Redick, to me, he had the relatability factor with players, having recently just played, and his basketball mind, I think, is top notch. So I wasn't surprised that they were the 3rd seed in the West last season. I was a little bit surprised they lost that series, but in the end, it just felt like a really bad matchup. And obviously, they didn't have the big, and they had to play their starters the entire second half of that game 4, whatever it was. But he's done great things for them, and he's gotten the most out of them. I'm still thinking about a game last season that he game planned for, specifically against Denver, that game in Denver last year where he had their defense scrambling. And it was like, we finally figured it out. We finally can beat this Denver Nuggets team. And this season so far, it does seem like there's a high level of competitive integrity going into each and every night. He's getting the most out of whoever he's had out there. Because as you mentioned, like, they've had their injuries. They haven't had things perfect so far. But guys are playing extremely hard. And he's doing all this stuff to get the best out of DeAndre Ayton with the Lion t-shirt and everything. And I listen to Ayton post-game saying, I effing love it here or whatever. I'm effing excited. I love it here. You love the ones who love you. He's gone about all this the right way. He's bringing out the best in his players. And you could say part of the big difference between the Clippers and the Lakers so far is they're guys that they brought in during the offseason, they're playing maybe over their heads in some way with Ayton and Marcus Smart. And the Clippers guys that they brought in have been underwhelming. So that's been huge, and I do give JJ Redick a ton of credit for it.
Okay, I got a couple quick questions in the West. Then we'll close it out with a couple quick questions on the Clippers. So I appreciate you joining the show, brother. And we'll definitely do this as Lakers and Clippers go up against each other. It'll be fun to have you on the show to break it down. In the West, you mentioned Denver and Lakers game planning last year. And you're right. And Denver was one of the teams, I don't need to tell you, they own the Lakers. I mean, they went through a stretch there where I think it was 8 out of 9 games, not even forget the regular season, 8 out of 9 games in the playoffs. I mean, this is the postseason.
And close games.
Yep. Close games, which always the better team always found a way to win. Well, that wasn't the Lakers. That was Denver. But let me just stay real quick on the West. You look at the top teams in the Western Conference. When the dust settles, who do you think are the 2 or 3 teams that you do feel like, if there's any team to give the Oklahoma City Thunder a real headache or a real chance of knocking them off the throne, what teams and why in the Western Conference?
Denver took him to 7 last season. Now, OKC had to go through the fire to win that first championship, and now you have championship level confidence, and they are better this season.
I agree.
They haven't even had J-Dub yet.
Yep.
People forget Chet missed 35 games last year, and they still won 68. This is crazy to say, but they're likely to win 70 games this season. You don't often say that for a ball club. They're likely to win 70 games. If they want to, they're going to win 70 as long as they're relatively healthy, because they've gotten by so far and they're missing their second best guy and they're still just mopping teams. Because to me, the most reliable thing in sports right now is their defense. Their defense is always there. and they're great and they're built perfectly. And Sam Presti did it in a way where you got all these interchangeable pieces that are similar and they may overlap, but it works. I think, though, the Denver Nuggets, with how good Jokic is still and what he did last night and that crazy pass with the left-hand spin move and the half-court shot, what they did this past offseason, and Cameron Johnson, he hasn't been perfect yet. Defensively, he's helped them, but offensively, he's still finding his way in that group. But Jonas Valanciunas having him as a backup in Denver, where they really haven't had a guy solid enough to help out in those non-Jokic minutes, where they're always like a plus 20 when Jokic is out there and it drops off when he's on the bench. I think Denver, who took him to 7 in the second round, can give him some issues. I think Houston might be able to, but they probably still need to make a move for another playmaker since losing Fred VanVleet. Like long term, they could still figure that out while winning right now. You guys, I think, can give them some issues just because Luka beat him in the second round a couple of years ago, and that's a tough matchup for them. And I like what I've seen from LeBron. I know it's just 2 games so far, but it's starting to feel like for the first time, really ever, at the age of 41, or he's about to turn 41, he knows he can blend in a little bit more and let Austin and Luka, with the good start that Austin's gotten off to. And by the way, I'm an Austin truther. I said back last February, I said I would take Austin Reeves over Devin Booker in this league right now. Moving forward and contract wise, and he's averaging 28 per game to start this season. So LeBron sees those two. He's like, oh, wait a second. I can do the little things, make the winning plays out there, hopefully give that defensive effort that we saw at the end of last season. And really, he might have been their best defender in that playoff series against the Minnesota Timberwolves. If he can do that and not have to worry as much about the scoring or not feel like I still need to show that I can score, just kind of be a superstar role player type for them, I think they're in really good shape. But the one thing is that people don't think about with the Lakers is they still forget they have a move they can make. That Dalton Connect trade for Mark Williams, that got X'd. So
Kept all those assets.
they still have one more big move they can make. And that's what should scare people. That a team that's 12-4, if they feel like it, if they think they should go all in with this team this season, they can still do so. I think those are the 3 teams that could give OKC the most trouble.
Yeah, I think too, if they're going to maximize this season, and I'm not telling you they should do it. Yesterday we're having a conversation. Andrew Wiggins' name keeps coming up around whatever, Laker conversations, Laker rumors. Put that to the side. It's more just the concept of a player like that, or, hey, why make a move this early? And most teams don't. Nothing happens typically until after December 15th. But I think the Lakers, they're in a good spot in the sense that they can keep assessing what is it that we exactly need. They do have, some of the things that you talked about, aside from Dalton Connect, aside from that first rounder, they got expiring contracts. There could be teams out there that start that selling process and just say, listen, we like the fact that Rui or Gabe or whatever the case is, Maxi Kleber, all these guys have expiring contracts. I do think if they're going to really make noise in the West, I do think they're still a move away, and whatever that looks like, we'll leave that up to Plank in the front office. Final one I got for you, and I think this is more, I don't think there's a real answer on this, but I'm curious from your perspective. One of the big storylines for the Clippers, obviously, in the offseason was Steve Ballmer, aspiration, Kawhi Leonard. Do you think any of that has added to the mix of this season? Do you think that from a distraction perspective, I'm just curious, could a storyline like that and still kind of looming on the organization, can that have an effect on your team? And do you think that's had any effect on the 5-12 start?
Honestly, I wish I could use that as an excuse right now, but I don't think that has been front of mind for many guys. We had the press conference at Media Day where Ramona Shelburne was there and she asked Kawhi Leonard 5 straight questions about it. I think for the most part, I'm not saying it's behind them. It is still somewhat of a dark cloud. But right now, Pablo Torre is, mixing it up with being sued by Bill Belichick's girlfriend, and he's moved on to different political investigations. If he keeps coming out with consistent information on this while the NBA is investigating, I think it could be more of a distraction. But right now, it feels like it's still back in the summer. It was off-season stuff, and the season started, and that's behind them a little bit.
Yeah, it's one of the kind of, I guess, in my own mind, I'm like, someone like you might have a better feel for like, yeah, I think this is looming. I don't think so, whatever the case is. So I figured I'd lob that your way and kind of get your opinion on it.
It's tough because it's Kawhi. He
Yeah.
doesn't talk much.
No.
Like, he is someone that can compartmentalize. And I remember Lawrence Frank, when he's gone through all these injuries over the years, he specifically said Kawhi doesn't catastrophize things.
Mm.
He's very good about that. So I do feel like he's mentally tough enough not to have to worry about that. I haven't seen, his play really be affected. He's looked good so far. The problem is he's only played 5 or 6 games after turning the ankle. Luckily, it had nothing to do with the surgically repaired right knee. But because it's that player in particular, I think there is an ability for this Clippers team to rise above it. But again, they have all these on the court issues going on. Maybe you could say the on the court issues are distracting from aspiration in some ways, with them being 5-12.
It's a good way to put it. Adam, appreciate the insight, brother. Thank you for coming on. Fun breaking it down and just kind of chilling here on the podcast. So we'll talk to you soon. I know Lakers got the Clippers tonight, but I appreciate you making some time.
Anytime, Alan. Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. All right, that's Adam Ausland right there. Good stuff from Adam there. Good stuff. Good stuff. Adam, listen, guys got some wounds there. Bringing up the Sacramento Kings, now the Clippers. I don't blame him. There are some, what he said about what did the Lakers get after 6 years of being an organization where you're like, what happened to the Lakers? And then LeBron's like, I'll go there. The savior of the Lakers. Good stuff there from Adam. I know we got a lot of comments here. People want to give their opinion on things. I still got a lot of topics I'm going to get into. So we're going to do all that. Be patient with me, and I'll do my best to try to get to some of these comments. Quick shout out here, Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. All right. Give everyone a quick example here. They're injury attorneys. They represent anybody in the state of California. We created a URL, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. You can go there and get a free consultation. A couple months ago, there was an auto insurance company who made a $1.25 million offer to one of Brad's clients whose case was going to trial in Palm Springs. I know when Brad's busy. When he's in the middle of prepping for a trial, I'll send him a text and there's like nothing. I'm like, what happened to Brad? Well, he's trying to take care of his clients. And he's trying to make sure that these insurance companies that are all trying to settle and give his clients the least amount of money possible, the least amount of money that they deserve, that he fights for them. In this case, the $1.25 million offer that Brad got ended up, after him doing what he does, Brad got the full $2 million demand before the first witness was called to the stand. That's how you execute. That's how you win. And certainly for Brad Wallace and his team, they got a great track record and a great history in the state of California of helping their clients. wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, and shout out to them for being a partner of the show and certainly contributing to everything that we're doing here. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments here, see what people have to say. A lot of comments. Let's see. All right, Sliwa, another solid show. Okay. Thank you. Here's one here. Get it together, Lakers. I wish LeBron retire if Lakers lose. Okay. I don't know what to tell you about that. I can't take anyone that calls themselves a Clippers fan. That means I hate the Lakers. So, no, I disagree with you on that one. I mean, listen, if that's your squad, that's your squad. If that's your team, that's your team. There's a lot of teams like that. There are a lot of, think of Sacramento Kings, think of the Phoenix Suns, think of, I don't know, you put Portland in that category, put Utah maybe. There's a lot of franchises out there that have had to go through the Lakers over the years and have not had the success. Denver obviously just got through. Portland, I think, won a championship back in the 70s or something like that with Bill Walton. But there are a lot of franchises out there that, if you're going to win, if you're in the Western Conference, there's a good chance you're going to have to go through the Lakers. So there's obviously a lot of franchises out there. And then, you start looking at some of the different, the Golden State Warriors were one of those teams. And then all of a sudden they built a dynasty, winning 4 championships in 8 or 9 years or whatever the case was. All right, I got some more topics I got to get into. These damn Clippers are going to give the Thunder a tap. Eric, it ain't even just the Clippers. I think the Dallas Mavericks are about to give them a really, really, really high pick as well. The Thunder are truly the definition of playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. All right, let's hold on to that one. We'll come back to that one a little bit later. Somebody's asking me about the SDFC game yesterday. Oh, I was there. We'll talk about that in a second. Might have got some birria tacos after the game as well. All right, let's keep moving here. So Ayton's out. So just real quick on Ayton, I haven't really spent too much time. I think on the game tonight, and you heard Adam say this as well. Adam mentioned that he thinks that the biggest key to tonight's game is the fact that the Lakers don't have DeAndre Ayton. And he went out of his way to say that Ayton's played well against the Clippers, whether when he was in Phoenix or he was in Portland. So the Lakers not having Ayton, obviously a little bit unfortunate here. I don't really know what to make of this injury. I just know that he's out. DeAndre Ayton, he's out for tonight's game. We know that he left the game against the Utah Jazz. We haven't really got much more information. So I think tonight, one of the things that I would tell you is to keep an eye for what JJ Redick says pregame to give everyone a little bit more background of the actual injury. A right knee contusion. We'll see what happens with him. I don't know if you guys saw this as well. Last night, the Lakers signed 6'10" big man Drew Timme to a 2-way contract. Drew Timme, by the way, for the G League, for South Bay Lakers, 25 a game, 7.5 rebounds, and 4 assists. I'm just trying to look here. There was one other thing. Lakers also, by the way, waived Christian Koloko to make room for Drew Timme's 2-way. So for those who don't know, Drew Timme really made his name when he was at Gonzaga. So we'll see. He was West Coast Conference Player of the Year. Gonzaga's all-time leading scorer with 2,307 points in 4 seasons. So college standout, however you want to look at it. Drew Timme is going to be joining the Lakers. So something to keep in mind there. By the way, I'm with you on this. 25 a game in the G League. Like, I think sometimes we just brush over all what's just the G League. You got good players down there. So the fact that, obviously able to make it happen is pretty damn impressive. So we'll see what he is. I think tonight, somebody else put this here. Kleba. I thought Kleba did good against the Utah Jazz. I think tonight will be a little bit of Jackson Hayes and a little bit of Maxi Kleba. Maybe the Lakers even go small at times to try to make the Clippers match them and try to go small as well. So we'll see what happens in regards to that. All right, let's keep moving on here as we still got a few different topics that I want to get into. And you guys can feel free to continue to throw some. By the way, shout out here real quick. Got a couple new members here. Mile, thank you for being a new member. JJ, thank you for being a new member. I appreciate that. Thank you to all the members out there. We've been doing some prep shows. What's tomorrow? Do I do a prep show tomorrow coming off at 8 o'clock? No, I'm going to do I'll do a member show later this week. I don't think I'm going to do a prep show. I'll do a member show maybe this weekend or something. Tomorrow's going to be too quick of a turnaround to do. Lakers don't play tonight till 8 o'clock, by the way. So shout out to the members. Thank you for being a member. If you want to be a member, hit the join button, $3 a month. Great way to support the channel. And I appreciate you guys doing that. All right. Bus family. Did you guys see this article? Let me just share this quick little Bus family news. Listen to this amount here. We know that the Bus family sold to Mark Walter and his group for an evaluation of $10 billion. Do you know what that means? Let me give everyone a quick idea what that means. Okay. That means the 6 family members that are part of the Buss family, that are part of the trust. Jeannie, Johnny, Jim, Janie, Jesse, and Joey, according to the Sports Business Journal. Each of the children is walking away with nearly $1 billion because of that sale. And oh, by the way, they still keep a 15% minority stake in the team, so close to 2% for each of them. And we already know that, obviously Jeannie Buss most likely serving for 5 more years as the governor of the Lakers. But each family member walking away with a bill. Excuse me? Well, that's what happens when you own the Los Angeles Lakers. I wonder if Dr. Jerry Buss, I would not be surprised if he probably never wanted the Buss family to sell a majority ownership stake. I mean, it's just like, think of any family-run business, and your dad buys this company, or he builds the company with his blood, sweat, and tears, and he's like, hey, I want this thing to stay in the family forever. That's his vision. That's his dream. It does not happen, obviously, with the Lakers, but that family will be each receiving close to $1 billion as part of that sale. That's pretty cool. That's pretty crazy right there. Okay, a couple other things I want to get into, and then we're going to start getting ready with some NBA news and looking at some comments and closing out the show. I mentioned this to Adam. There was an article I was reading yesterday. I'm going to read this from Dave McMenamin. In the last 2 minutes report released by the NBA for the Lakers and the Jazz, the league determined that the Lakers benefited from 2 calls that should have been called against them. One was the Maxi Kleber call and another one from Marcus Smart in the last 10 seconds of the Lakers win against the Utah Jazz, 108-106. All right. So in his report, it says Marcus Smart clamps and holds George's right arm and affects his forward motion during the inbound. Okay. That's one right there. And then the other one on Kleber. Kleber clamps and holds Nurkic's left arm, which affects his ability to pursue the rebound. Guys, listen, obviously Lakers benefited off a couple of these calls. There's been times where it's gone the other way, where you look at the final 2-minute report and it's like a Laker fan saying, look, they fouled him right there. Or the guy, he traveled, whatever the case is, right? Whatever the call is. Why do we have these 2-minute reports? Does somebody want to tell me? I think this truly is the dumbest thing in the NBA. If if a referee made a mistake, just have a meeting with a referee. What the hell do we have to? Why do I need to know that a referee is screwing up in the final 2 minutes? Doesn't that just tick people off even more? Doesn't that just bother NBA fans even more? And for the love of God, with all the gambling and everything else and the prop bets and this and that, I'm sure there's certain things that happen where a guy's sitting there, he's like, oh my God, I could have won that bet, but I didn't win that bet because the referee screwed up in the final 2 minutes. And then all of a sudden a conspiracy theory is coming up and it's like, look, this is rigged and that's rigged, blah, blah, blah. What's the point of the 2-minute? Why have the 2-minute report? If you screwed up, go freaking have a sit-down conversation with the referee. I don't think there's anybody that walks away from these 2-minute reports and say, I feel so much better that I know that this referee screwed my team and my team lost because of this referee. Why do I need to know that? There's nothing that comes out of these 2-minute reports that are positive. That's one man's opinion here, but it makes no sense to me. It literally, truly makes no sense to me. I have no reason why the NBA thinks these 2-minute reports are of benefit to the league. I can't understand it. I can't understand it. All right, NBA Cup game tonight. So tonight is an NBA Cup game. Has this grown on anybody? Does anybody care about the NBA Cup? Does it not? I'm going to give you guys a little. I think I'm coming around just a little bit. 5% I'm coming around. 5%. I don't care about the initial games of the NBA Cup, but I kind of like the single elimination. I like that by the time this game is done tonight, that some of these NBA Cups will have a little bit more stake to them. I don't care about the point differential. Lakers were in a point differential game where they're trying to win as much as they possibly can. I think that game was against the Pelicans. And in my head, I'm like, well, that doesn't help. They got a second of a back-to-back tomorrow. Why is Luka playing 40 minutes? Because of an NBA Cup point differential? But 5% better, I like it than I did a year ago. That's it. That's what I'm giving the NBA. I'm giving the NBA 5%. Okay, I got a couple NBA stories I'm going to jump into. Then we'll close out the show, spending a little bit of time on your comments. Chauncey Billups pleads not guilty in mafia-tied poker scheme. I like that. I like that title by ESPN. Got to get the mafia part in it. Chauncey Billups pleads not guilty in mafia-tied poker scheme. Come on, I'm not going to click on the article if you put mafia in the middle of that title. Put mafia everywhere. I'm clicking on it. You can put Hornets versus the Wizards. Mafia member watch the game. Click. I'm in. Put mafia anywhere. I'm like, tell me what else happened. Teeth cleaning, $99. We'll put a mafia movie on in the background. Click. I'm in. Come on, throw mafia in there. All right, real quick here. Portland Trailblazers coach, basketball. That's so crazy. The guy's a freaking head coach and getting caught up in all this. Pleaded not guilty on Monday to charges. He profited from rigged poker games involving several mafia figures and at least one other former NBA player. The five-time All-Star was arraigned in a federal court in New York City on money laundering conspiracy and wire fraud conspiracy charges, both of which carry a maximum punishment of 20 years in prison. Some of Billups' co-defendants are also charged with running an illegal gambling business and engaging in an extortion conspiracy. Yeah, nothing to see here, guys. Just gambling around the NBA. Nothing to see here. No problem. And then, bam, prop bets all over the place, everywhere you look. All right, let's get a couple more NBA stories in here, and we're going to get out of here. I got a couple surprising teams in the NBA. Detroit Pistons. Do you guys know the top of the East right now? All right, let me get you guys. Let's share our screen here. Enough is enough. All right, here's what we got here in the standings in the NBA. I mean, what's going on in the East? Look at the East. Detroit, number one record in the Eastern Conference. They've won 13 games in a row. Look at the Toronto Raptors. You know who's balling in Toronto? And I actually really like his fit there. Brandon Ingram is balling in Toronto. The Raptors have won 8 in a row, 9 of their last 10. The Pistons have won 13 in a row. They're 10 in a, or they've won 13 in a row. Miami, who just got Tyler Hero back. Miami's kind of balling. They've won 8 of their last 10 games. They've won 5 in a row, 12-6. I mean, the Eastern Conference. I thought the Cavs and the Knicks would lock down the number 1 and the number 2 seeds. That has not been the case. And obviously, like I said, pretty impressive to see what's going on in the Eastern Conference. All right, final thing I got here, and then let me read a couple comments, and then I'll tell you guys real quick about MLS game last night. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Business as usual, if you ask me. They just got caught. Could be right there. Let's get another one here. There's still a ton of people who haven't been named yet, but I bet. Okay. Billups and Mafia in the same sense. Never thought I'd see that. Yeah, I'm with you on that. A lot of people out here saying they're all guilty. Didn't we have BI and gave up on him? That is correct. Absolutely. They also got Anthony Davis in that trade and then traded cash in on a championship. Brandon Ingram went off 37 points. He's killing it. Give him a lot of credit. Definitely the man deserves a lot of credit. Okay, final thing I got here, and then we're done. Went to, I think I told you guys yesterday, I was going to, what the hell is going on? San Diego FC, an expansion team, comes into the MLS. Yesterday they had a game, Snapdragon Stadium. That's in Mission Valley, kind of the heart of San Diego, where Qualcomm used to be. That piece of shit didn't leave. Take our freaking football team away. Somebody said they like when I curse more. There's a curse right there. I talk Chargers, I'm going to curse. Went to the game yesterday. Play Minnesota. Listen, you guys know, I'm an MLS guy. I do MLS talk. Went to the game. SCFC won again. San Diego FC is in the Western Conference Finals taking on Vancouver. That game's on Saturday. By the way, I don't even know. Do I have to fork over some more money here just to go to another game? This would be, my fourth MLS game that I've gone to this year. I've gone to both of the playoff games. They've played 3 at home. I've gone to 2 of them. I think I'm going to have to just kind of continue to fork out more money here and keep watching. But here's what's crazy. I'll knock on wood here because we don't know what's going to happen. There's 4 teams left. New York, Vancouver, SDFC, and this one guy, Lionel Messi from Miami. If San Diego wins its next game, they're in the finals of the MLS Cup against Messi. What the hell? Pretty cool. Pretty fun game. Cool environment. Feeling the vibe there, too. It's a fun game. MLS is going to do really well in San Diego. It's just a good soccer. It's a good soccer city. Yeah, it's going to do well. Had a couple birria tacos yesterday after the game as well. How's my Spanish? My Spanish okay? Birria tacos. All right, guys, that's all I got. I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. By the way, if there's one thing I don't recommend, don't have birria tacos around 10:30 at night. I don't know if that's the greatest idea out there, but that's what I had to do. How's my Spanish? It's good? All right, I appreciate it, guys. I appreciate you guys being here. That's all I got. Back on tomorrow morning. And then also back on tonight. So after Lakers play, 8 p.m. tip-off tonight. Who does 8 p.m. tip-offs? What the hell is an 8 p.m. game? Birria tacos. All right, I'm done. That's all I got. 8 p.m. Lakers tonight against the Clippers. When we're done, come back right here. And I'll see you tomorrow morning as well at 8 a.m. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.